Sorry. All right. Sorry. Well, we're live now. Let me go up. All right. All right, so we're live now. I just have to go and make it accessible on Facebook. They always do me the default is private.
Okay.
Just a second. Okay. I put the wrong thing up there. Change it. Oh, here we go. There we go. That's what's the question mark. There we go. All right. We're all set up. Good evening, everyone. Just give the live a chance to get populated. Oh, let's do it. There we go. That's a little better. What's up, James? What's up, co-conspirator? Just fade that out. Welcome, everyone. This again is the BroDiallo broadcast on YouTube and Facebook. It is our Wednesday evening Q&A sessions for questions, comments, criticisms. And it's tonight. My guest is Brother B. Michael Long, and our focus topic is African spirituality and Black atheism. Of course, if you follow the broadcast, you know I'm on the side of Black atheism. Brian Michael Long for a long time has taught, preached, lectured, instructed people on spirituality, and we've had several spirited debates, but I've always kept it brotherly and respectful. I wish I could say the same for him, but we're here yet again, to communicate, engage, discuss, debate with the people. So the way this goes, I don't know if you've seen it, is people will pose questions, comments, or criticisms, and I'll put them up, and then either you respond, I respond, or we'll take turns responding if it's directed specifically towards you or your area of understanding and expertise, or towards me. But it's kind of like an open format engagement between us and the listening audience. So we have our first comment from Brother James, who states that I've heard someone say that spirituality is how we connect to the environment. Now that explanation, the best I've heard. So that's a comment where he asserts that spirituality is how we connect to the environment. You want to speak to spirituality and connection to the environment?
Undeniably. And I subscribe, in a portion to that, environment, creation, nature, in consciousness. You know, there's a lot of different elements to that. And I was thinking on that aspect earlier in describing what spirit is first. You know, to understand spirituality, we first have to understand what is spirit. And what I've come to understand spirit to be, empirically speaking, is intelligent energy, right? Intelligent energy. And energy being the animating force that gives life to all things. And so when we understand the animating force that is behind all existence, that gives everything life, from which everything emanates, you know, there is an intelligence to that we will talk about, I'm sure, later. But I definitely would, you know, espouse that view that Brother Thompson talks about in terms of how we connect to creation. And I would even go further and say to creator as well. So, yes.
My response to that is I define spirituality as religion for lazy people, because spirituality has so many openings for you to redefine what you are doing, so you can invent your own rituals and practices and beliefs, or you can amalgamate or extract from many established religions and belief systems and myths to construct your own personalized belief systems and the rituals, and you can even interpret or impose meaning on that. So you don't have to follow an established dogma, an established belief system. So I call spirituality religion for lazy people who aren't really into having to go to the tabernacle, go to the mosque, or go to the the
temple, whatever we want to call it. Yeah.
As far as how we connect to the environment, the way we connect to the environment is through our senses. Human beings are primates. We are evolved bipedal primates. Therefore, the way we interact with our environment is through sight, touch, sound, taste, feeling, sensations of heat, sensations of cold, and that is how we interact. And those interactions we have seen through scientific evaluation, scientific discovery, are developed over time. So that, because if you look at human beings that live in the tropics, how they physically look is different than how the human beings who have lived in a mountainous regions or cold regions. Even our personality and our disposition, tropical humans behave differently than Arctic humans. So our culture, our languages, our value systems are all byproducts of interplay between the human senses, human evolution, and the environmental pressures and environmental benefits. So it is biological and evolutionary adaptation. And later, as humans develop language and culture, then it becomes social and intellectual adaptation. So I don't think that we need a spirit or any supernatural element to be as a mediator between us and the physical environment. We can connect directly without anything supernatural or mythological or mystical.
If I may add to that, and you bring up a lot of great points, the senses, you know, the senses are definitely essential as relates to consciousness. That's what gives us our awareness to life, right? And I think that is a very important point that you raised. I do want to really delineate, because when you say primate, are you saying like we have evolved from primates like monkeys?
No, not only have we evolved from primates, we are not monkeys. We are apes. We are apes. Evolved primates. Right. But apes and monkeys are both primates, are part of the family of primates. Human beings,
Homo
sapiens, evolved from primates, and we still are technically primates.
So what is the genus of primates? What genus are they of?
I don't know. I mean, it's been a while since I took biology 101.
But are they Homo anything?
No, they aren't.
So that's an entirely different genus then, right? So when you're dealing with genus and you're dealing with species, right, and so-called race, you're dealing with an entirely different evolutionary scale. Primates are not. We are not primates. I would argue that is a Darwinist thought, right? That is a social evolution thought that comes from the Darwinist perspective. And as human beings, we are an entirely different class of creatures with a much higher evolutionary sense. So when you deal with Homo, you're dealing with Erectus, Habilis, right? So on and so forth. But those were not primates. Those were entirely different. Grimaldi and the Cro-Magnon man. So you're dealing with things that were not even considered primates when you're going into the evolution of humanity. Humanity is not primate. And I would,
if you insist on taking that position, you would not be able to pass a middle school biology class. The primates are gorillas, chimpanzees, orangutans, bonobos, and humans.
That's secularist.
And yes, everything is secular.
Not everything is secular. No, it's not. And that's why I was saying, like, even when you deal with, first of all, let's really decode spirituality, because I'm going to come back to that. When we're dealing with spirituality, you're dealing with a sacred science at its highest evolution. And when you deal, and I agree, because the laziness does come into when people, I'm spiritual, and even it can come into when people are saying that they're religious. You can be completely a lazy religious, just ritual-based person that has no substance whatsoever in your religious activities. However, when you understand the dynamics and the principles, and I will even say the laws of spirit and science, then you can really start to apply this to your life in a way that is transformative. And that's the whole purpose of spirituality. It is transformative. It is transcendentally transformative for us to go beyond just the senses, because we are more than senses. Our consciousness is fourfold: unconscious, subconscious, conscious, and then I will even say super conscious. You have a super consciousness that connects the mind to the all, because our mind is so transcendent. We only use 5, 6, 7% of our brain. But to compare us and to say that we have evolved from primates,
and we still are primates.
We're mammals, I would say that. But we have an animal nature, but I will not say. And
we are mammals, and we are mammalian. We are primates.
I will have to do more research on that, because
vertebrates. There are several classifications.
But according to
we go to the next comment, I do want to say that there's no such thing as sacred science, because science unto itself is everything that sacred is not. Sacred means something that is exalted and upheld. And there's also the understanding in the context that the sacred cannot be questioned. It can not be dissected.
No, very much so.
It cannot be tampered with. That's the whole thing. If you say something is sacred, you don't tamper with it. Whereas science demands that you dissect, you question, and it is the goal of every scientist to invalidate that which is stated. Whether it is a theory, a hypothesis, an established understanding, or law, every respectable scientist works to invalidate any established understanding about science, because that is how science, a theory, a law, a hypothesis becomes validated, through aggressive and ongoing attempts to invalidate it. So you do never treat anything scientific as sacred. In fact, that's why early scientists were persecuted by the church. That's why early scientists were put to death by the religious and burned as witches, because they did the very opposite. Whereas religion seeks to establish, to indoctrinate, to lock in, and make untouchable.
When law is proven, when it becomes law, right? When the principle and the formula remains the same and proven throughout time,
it's still not sacred.
It becomes sacred. It becomes an absolute. It becomes a truth that is unalterable, and that is what truth is, right? Truth is something that is proven time and time again, right? And so when you have a principle, for instance, when we came to the understanding of what gravity is never changed, right? Gravity never changes.
Yes, it does.
Gravity changes. How does gravity change?
When you exit the Earth's atmosphere, depending on how far you are, and depending on your altitude, depending on barometric and atmospheric pressure.
The formula of gravity.
Yes, so temperature, gravity, well, the formula is fixed, but the formula, the elements of the formula can change. The variables, all these formulas have variables. But God does not. God is unchanging. His will is unchanging. His law is unchanging.
So let's
the sacred laws cannot be questioned. Scientific laws must be questioned if they are to be accepted as scientific.
Let's dissect that. Right. So the formula for gravity. Let's just use that as a launching pad.
Okay.
When you deal with the formula for gravity, right, it will always yield the outcome. Okay. So when you're dealing with the laws of the creator, quote unquote, so to speak, the elements may change, but the result will always remain the same if you follow that formula.
No.
The principle. Let's deal with this. The principle will yield the result. Right. So let's take the seasons. Let's take the seasons of creation. Let's deal with order, right? Order. So when you're
mixing so many unmixable things, though.
The principle is going to remain the same.
Gravity does change.
Because of the elements.
The gravity's right? If you get in a car and go 75 miles an hour in a car, or you get in a jet and you go 300 and you break the sound barrier in the jet, gravity will change. The impact of gravity on you will change according to your condition. I am sitting in a 2-story building. When I walk up to the second floor, the impact gravity has on me, as minute as it is different than if I was on the ground floor. Gravity, pressure, if you go into the ocean and go into the depths of the ocean,
it will change.
But God remains the same, whether you're in space, whether you're underwater, whether you're sitting, no matter where you are. The concept of sacred, the very concept of sacred means things cannot be changed.
Here's the corollary. Right. You look at as men, we look at women and we lust in our heart, right? There is still men.
Wait a minute, man. Stop.
Let me finish this. Let me just follow the line.
My wife is next door. Relax. No, we don't.
So in principle, men look at women with lust in their heart, right?
Use another example.
We're going to use this example because it's perfect. Because what happens is it creates a reverb within the man, right? Depending on what the man does with that thought will determine the outcome of that particular action. Let's say this woman is married. He looks at her, right? Damn, she bad as hell, right? So he has a desire for it in his heart. I would love to smash that. That's the thought the man may have.
That man,
and so now there is an impact that he has to deal with. It's not on her right now. It's an impact that he's dealing with.
Yeah.
He shares that with the friend, right? The friend, damn, you're right, she is. So now it is expanded. The elements have changed. Now he's projecting it towards her, and the outcomes will vary and change based on this man's lust and desire in his heart for this woman. So the elements change the outcome. And if he has that strong of a desire and actually takes this woman by force, it will have a different outcome. But the principle of it remains the same, in that he is violating the purity and the innocence and the I will even say the sanctity of that woman. He is violating that in thought, and then in word, and then in action. And so each of those has varying degrees of outcomes and results. Just like you mentioned, you on the first floor, just like you mentioned, you on the third floor, just like you mentioned, you in the ocean. So there are varying degrees of outcomes based on the principle. The principle is one thing, even in the law of Ma'at, in that it says, I have not committed adultery, so to speak, right? And so the spirit of the matter is dealing with your thoughts. That's where the spirit of it gets into it, right? And it becomes physical and active when you act out on it, but that is still in spirit, because it is the animating force that has driven you to carry that out. And you can't deny spiritual existence, because it is infused in every aspect of our existence. It is infused in everything that we do, because our energy that comes from within is always inspired by spirit. Everything we do is inspired by spirit, whether it is a positive or a negative spirit. Everything.
Your energy is a byproduct of metabolic reactions, biochemical reactions within your cells, based on the food you consume. And biochemical reaction. That's not spirit. That is biology. As far as you said, lust does not come from the heart. The heart is nothing more than an organ that circulates blood. Lust comes from the mind.
You take it literally. Yes, you're right.
None of these things that you want to attribute higher vibrations or higher meaning to are nothing more than biological interactions and reactions that we as human beings using our brain, our intellect to give significance to. But let's try to get, because the questions are starting to pile up. So let's
I like this. Let's go. Let's
do
go.
a little rapid fire. Justin asked, how were primates created? Do you want to ask that, or should I start? I'll start with that. Primates were not created. Primates evolved. We evolved. The process of evolution or selective breeding, that certain or what is called natural selection, as the certain mutations. Well, let me just make it shorter. Primates are a byproduct of breeding and mutations and natural selections. We were not created. We evolved from lesser or less complex organisms into more and more complex organisms as a byproduct of environmental factors and internal mutations. That's where primates came from, or how primates evolved. We were not created by any form of natural intelligence, or what do y'all call that?
Intelligent design.
Intelligent design. Humans were not created. We simply evolved, and we are still evolving. That's why your appendix and your molars are becoming
randomly designed, right? This is random. This coincidence.
Nothing was randomly designed. It was evolved.
That's random, though. That's just random.
Do you want to speak to primates and creation?
It just happened to come out that way. It just happened to form perfect.
And one of the most verifying, one of the strongest support for human evolution is now, since the human genome, and because when people were making this nonsense up about creation, they didn't understand that there were such thing as microorganisms, let alone subcellular bodies like mitochondria or DNA or RNA. So now that we understand those things, and we're able to literally map the code or the blueprint for biological entities, from humans to ferns, we now even understand better that evolution is a fact. It is proven, and only people outside of the scientific realm and outside of the realm of fact and reality reject the science and the evidence of evolution.
Evolution is a reality, but not in the sense that you come from entirely different species. You see what I'm saying?
No, we are the same species. We are of the common species.
We're not primates. However, I will say this:
you are a primate. You have all the requirements, characteristics, and vulnerabilities of a primate.
There are things that are alike. They have similarities, but they are not,
because they evolved from the same source.
Okay, so let's deal with it. The same source. Great point. So in science, there's a concept from the same source. Big Bang, right? There's a concept called the Big Bang, right? Big Bang is what they contribute the actual creation of the universe to. In Kabbalah, or a scientific. But allow me to speak. I'll allow you to speak, Diallo.
Talking about the creation of primates, right?
I'm getting to that. Yes, this is going to get to that. Okay, and so with the principle of creation in Kabbalah is called Simsum. Okay, in the Hebrew tongue, it's called Simsum. Simsum was the contraction of light to an ultimate point where it got condensed. It could do nothing but expand. And so when it expands, these light particles, right? Light particles, which actually science confirms this. Everything goes back in time to an explosion, right? The Big Bang. Everything goes back in time to this explosion, which is still, here it goes, evolving as we speak, right? In which these particles of light, these intelligent light forms, these energy corpuscles, even if you will, started to unfold in these designs of life. So let's take just like as an example in how differentiated life is. Okay, life is so differentiated we can even look at a snowflake and see that there are so many different patterns within this particular structure, right? So these elements, these creations have specific codes to them. There are codes that are intrinsic to each particular species. each species, yes, does come from a single source. There is a single source for all things, from organisms, right? Single cell, right, to now more complex cells. But these structures of cellular life have codes that are present within them. They're coded. But what is the code? And that's the question that we have to ask. What is the code? The code is based on an intelligent pattern. You can even look at technology and understand how technology coded in its language has an intelligent structure. And we know that artificial intelligence is nothing more than a replica of organic intelligence. But the organic intelligence that we're demonstrating is also a replica of the design from which all creation comes from, because it is about universal mind. So we deal with the Hermetic laws. Everything is vibration. Everything is mind. Everything is mental. We know this, right? We know that there are universal laws that attach to everything in existence. And so when we approach life from this sense, then we can start to understand how life is very coded in its construct, and that each animal, each species, each organism, each mineral, and each kingdom that is in existence has an order that is unique to its own design. Each kingdom has a very unique design. Mineral kingdom, the plant kingdom, the animal kingdom, the human kingdom. But the problem is the human kingdom is the most out of order. And because we have gotten so beyond ourselves and so full of who we think we are in our secular humanism, that we've ruled out all the other realities that we have cut off our consciousness to. We're still operating from a limbic and reptilian brain stem down. We're not even functioning from our neocortex. We're not even. And that's what really separates us from primates. Primates don't have neocortex capacity at all.
So you're asserting that primates were created because God said at a divine computer encoded it and wrote the code or spoke the code.
The creator.
And you also stated that light predated suns.
Undeniably.
There was light. What was the source of that light? If it wasn't, because our light, the light we get is from the sun. Light
in this particular solar system.
The Big Bang, you said, because the Kabbalah, I looked it up, said there was nothing but light.
Undeniably.
In the beginning.
Undeniably.
Don't even say it was darkness. What the hell was the source of that light?
Life itself.
There was no life in beginning. There was life before there was a universe. Life predates the universe.
Transcended consciousness. Very much so. Intelligent consciousness. Supreme intelligent consciousness.
How does consciousness emit light? I'm awake, but there's no light except the artificial lights I have around me. But consciousness has, what does consciousness have to do with light?
Because that is what light is. It is consciousness.
Light is not consciousness. No.
It is intelligence.
So my eyes,
it is intelligent.
My eyes are perceiving consciousness.
It's beyond your eyes, brother. This is the problem.
See, this light cuts on my hand. This light, you see, I have a light here. And this light is conscious that's being emitted on my face.
Very much so. It has a sense of consciousness in the sense that it is responding to the command that you give it when you turn the light on and off. So it has a form of it. It is not a sentient consciousness, but it has an awareness of what its purpose is.
But because that's a consideration for Justin here.
It's not
Justin
sentient.
says, how were primates created? You say that God created, sat down and coded, and you made it akin to the creation of artificial intelligence, coded on a computer or some type of device, and wrote the code, and then released the code into the ether, into the light without a light source, a conscious light. And then all these different codes for all these different animals were fixed. So since the beginning of time, it's been the same animals being the same way. I say that it's the process of natural selection, minor beneficial mutations taking hold over many generations of breeding, and environmental and pressures and internal mutations and breeding is that we evolved. But you say we were coded by a divine light conscious intelligence.
Undeniably. And this light travels beyond any figment of our imagination, right? And so when we're dealing with light consciousness, you're dealing with the transcendence of existence and the eternality of being, right? You have to understand that the mind can only wrap around so much, right? Because in our limited capacities and our finite being, we cannot conceive what infinity is. We cannot conceive what eternality is.
Therefore, we just make shit up.
I'm sorry?
And because we don't know these things, we just make shit up.
No, it's called revelation. It's called consciousness. It's called tapping into.
So revelation means this came into my brain, not from research, not from observation, not from study. It came into my brain from an unknown source.
No.
From an unknown source.
And this is where culture consciousness comes.
How do you tell whether somebody is getting information from the devil, from Yahweh, from Obatala, from Shiva? And when someone receives a revelation, how do you confirm the source? And then I'm being indulgent.
Because you're dealing with cultural consciousness there. You're dealing with cultures. But when you go back and let's take this back to Mana Matapa. Let's take this back to the Twa. Let's take this back to the Bantu. Let's take this back to there's one more people, Twa, Bantu, and there's one more people I can't think of offhand. But these people in the south of Africa, from which all humanity has come from, developed a complex system to make sense of their surroundings, right? And so the primates,
they made shit up. They made shit up.
So here it is. They experience their life. They experience elemental They experience elemental forces first, right? And so to conceive what these elemental forces were, because they weren't that well aware of what their environment was, right? They evolved into a system of thought. Then they saw the ancestral spirit. They were able to see the corpuscular energy of their ancestors who have departed. They could see what we would call today as ghosts. They would see the residue of life.
How do you know that?
Because this is documented stuff. There's people even
they didn't write things down. They were oral culture.
They have paintings. They have monuments in the south of Africa. They have older pyramids and older sphinxes in the south of Africa than they even do up in Egypt and in the Sudan area. There's sphinxes and Adam's calendar in the south of Africa that go back over 200,000 plus years. These are monuments in the south of Africa that depict the consciousness of this people. This is where Heru comes from. This is where Asar comes from. This is where Aset comes from. They come from the south of Africa, okay? And these were complex systems of consciousness that these people were revealed. No, they were revealed because they were in tune, first of all, with themselves and the stars. They saw the stars and they understood the message in the stars. They understood the order of heaven and earth. They understood the connection of their environment and themselves with that and how this all unfolds. And what they did, they made a story of how to master yourself and to ascend to these levels of consciousness and to get to higher peaks of consciousness. They understood this well. And they understood that they were not primates. They understood that we are not. They were their own species of people. They understood this well. They were very well aware of who they were in terms of our humanity, but they were only coming into a higher form of consciousness because now, coming from Homo habilis and Homo erectus, Homo sapien, the wise and sagacious one, the one with wisdom, the one operating from their neocortex, was able to tap into a higher realm of consciousness that does exist beyond the veils of our naked eyes. But because we limit ourselves as human beings, we only see what is present. We only take empirical evidence as the truth.
Yes. When
truth transcends all things.
If you're willing to make things up.
Space.
If you're willing to make things up.
But when it's confirmed, across continents, when you see the same thing over in Peru that you do see over in Kemet, when you see the same thing over in Chile that you do see in India, and you see that these cultures are all sharing the same forms of consciousness, thousands of miles apart. Really? They made that all up.
Let's, out of consideration to our viewers and the people asking questions, we're going to try to limit our responses to no more than 2 minutes per inquiry, just so we can get some of them out of the way, and then we can do more engaged discussion a little later, because there's a lot of people comments that I'm not. Joey said sacred or pseudoscience. You want to speak to that, where he is asking, are you dealing with sacred or pseudoscience, or what is the difference between sacred or pseudoscience?
Pseudoscience does not arrive at truth. Pseudoscience is more quackery that deals with more just hypotheticals, right? It doesn't have a principle that is arrived at. It doesn't have a law that is established upon its premise. So that's when you're dealing with pseudoscience. You're dealing with science that is biased. You're dealing with science that is, very agenda-based, as opposed to open to the arriving at the conclusion objectively. And then when you deal with sacred science, you're dealing with the establishment of principle that elevates the consciousness and being, and I will even say the morality of humanity.
Okay.
Because now you're dealing with a higher level of thought. Okay. Not just dealing as humans, you're dealing now with, I would say, transcendent consciousness. So that's when you're dealing with sacred science.
I would say that, again, I go back to originally that science is anything but sacred. Sacred, the very concept, unless you, which is what religious people do a lot, especially as human understanding evolves. In order for religion and spirituality to maintain any level of legitimacy, they have to redefine their terms and move the goalpost. So it was a time where spiritualists and religious people openly rejected scientists. And like I said, we have very famous incidents where powerful religious figures and institutions put scientists to death or banned sciences or burned books. And the reason they did this is because science is a threat to the sacred. The science is the almost opposite. There is nothing sacred about science. In fact, if you are able to get an established scientific principle and you are able to invalidate it, you will receive a Nobel Prize. Whereas if you come up and invalidate a religious belief, you will be murdered. You will be bombed in some countries, or persecuted, or called demonic. There are opposites, and to me, it almost approaches the level of being offensive for science, for people to try to switch lanes like that and bring religious superstition and dogmatism into the arena of science. They don't mix and they don't belong together.
Let me quote Albert Einstein. Albert Einstein said, "Science without religion is incomplete, or spirituality, and spirituality without science is superstitious." So they are in fact complementary when you understand them on their highest level, and how you are to.
Did Albert Einstein in any way validate that?
All things.
Did he come up with a way to test that, to validate that claim, and then to replicate and reproduce that claim? And is there any type of recording, documentation, and peer review that where it says that
when you look at social reality, in terms of cultural expressions of their spiritual system?
Point me to the peer-reviewed article. Point me to the experiment. Tell me the instruments that he used to determine the level of spirituality that was involved in the scientific process.
Have you heard of transcendental meditation? Transcendental meditation and the Maharishi effect. And the Maharishi effect, right?
It's nonsense.
The Maharishi effect is nonsense? So since you're researching things, look up the Maharishi effect and the double-blind studies that were done with the Maharishi effect. Maharishi effect. The Maharishi effect, transcendental meditation. Short story shorter, what took place during this study, this scientific study, was they went into DC, New Orleans, they went over to India, where high crime was going on. They put so many people in a room, the people focused and meditated on decreasing crime, And guess what happened to the city? The crime of that city dramatically was affected in that it decreased. And this was a scientific study. This was not just...
What's the name of the study and who published it?
Maharishi effect. I'm going to type it in
the
chat.
I'm looking at it now, and I don't see group meditation and violent crime rate.
Study.
This is the only places I see this study being presented is on spiritualist website. Okay. I don't see one scientific
research
or one valid scientific source that has peer reviewed and listed this. When you look at it, it's all this spiritual. I can put it up on the screen if you want, but I have to go to TH Home, Transcendental Home. So everybody that's sharing this, it's all embedded within the yogi and spiritualist community. There is no scientific source to validate or to confirm this. This is all transcendental meditation news. And every website is a spiritualist website. It's people.
Here's one from Harvard.
You go to transcendentalmeditation.org, tm.org. You go to
Harvard
programs, globalnews.com. You go to Tend Online. These are none of these.
Look in your chat box. Look at your chat box at the Harvard University Review. Okay.
There have been no criminologists. There have been no social scientists. There have been no neurological scientists that have validated or have signed off on this. This is all people who believe in the yogi talking to each other. So this is not valid. So if you can find
the Harvard abstract
source, if you can find me an independent, legitimate scientific validation or peer review of this, I'm willing to discuss it. Other than that, it's make-believe.
So what took place was make-believe. What happened was make-believe. That's what you're saying.
It hasn't been validated.
It was a double-blind study. It was a double-blind study.
No, it wasn't. Okay. Where? Show me. Send me the link, homie, because I
Harvard.edu.
All a bunch of people online that look like they feet smell, wearing diapers on rubber mats, talking this stuff. I don't see nobody in lab coats talking about this. And I hate to be so superficial, but I mean, we got to keep it 100.
Here's the thing, though, but the people that you're talking about,
you know what? But you know, there have been studies and research, such as the book called The Spirit Level. And the Spirit Level has demonstrated, and it has been validated by researchers, epidemiologists, neuroscientists, to say that equitable redistribution of a society's resources reduce crime rate, and concentration of resources in the hands of a few increase crime rates. Now, I can show you from any scientific journal, and I can show you several different independent and even hostile sources, from the FBI's crime statistics, from third world countries to mainstream society, that scientifically equitable economists from several different schools of research and scientific and social science study that equitable redistribution of resources reduces crime rates, and concentration of resources in the hands of few drive up the crime rate, and people sitting on rubber mats with in diapers humming and begging for some supernatural force don't have no cotton picking.
It's not about the supernatural force. It is about the power of the mind.
Yeah. Yes, the power of the mind.
Collective consciousness
of the mind. The mind is a byproduct of the brain. The brain is a biological lump of gray matter. It is not.
So what gives it life? What gives it life? What gives it life?
Mind is not a magical thing. A mind is something you can dissect and cut apart and break down. Where's the supernatural?
It's technology. We are technology.
We are not technology. We are biology.
But in biology, biotechnology, right? We are
biotechnology unless you have gone to have your body infused with nano machines or something of that sort. But I am biological. You are biological. That's why we have to eat, sleep, poop.
Undeniable. But
We are biological. We are not technological.
In its functionality, there is an order.
Mixing these things that don't go together. Sacred and science. Technology is not biology. There is biotech, which is something I have a lot of questions about. I suggest you check out Vandana Shiva.
I'm familiar with transhumanism, but I'm not talking about it in that sense.
You using their terminology. Don't steal their terms if you're not going.
But here's the
that crew. You got to claim yourself.
Is in the organic aspects of ourselves, we are like technological machines.
No, we are not
organic. Yes, we are. No. Listen to me. We have Wi-Fi. We have a source of Wi-Fi. We have a source of connectivity to a consciousness that transcends just our limited scope of human activity.
You cannot You cannot demonstrate that.
You cannot.
That is what you believe. That is how you feel, but that is not supported by evidence.
This is where you have to understand that intelligence.
I have to believe. You're asking me to believe. You're not asking me to
believe anything. I'm not asking you to believe
every time you say you have to understand, what you're actually doing is telling me I need to believe, because I reject what you say when there is no grounded evidence for it. When there is no evidence for it, I won't accept it.
The evidence is in the fruit of an individual's life.
No, it isn't. That's not what evidence is. You cannot pass a middle school science class by walking in there to tell your biology.
Because that's social construct. That's a social construct.
And you're mixing metaphors, similes, factual statements, and assertions and claims. You're mixing too many.
That's a social construct.
That's
socially engineered. What you're saying, I can't pass a middle school exam. That's a social construct and a bias tool. It's just like saying, taking a SAT test is the determination of your intelligence. That is a bias.
It's a determination of how well you do on. It's a determination of how much in from school you retain.
It's a bias tool, though. It's a bias tool.
Yes, it's bias.
So is your science test.
And so is your sacred scriptures. Everything is biased because it's a byproduct of humans. It didn't come from on high. It's not a revelation.
Okay.
So it's weird for you. You can't really.
What determines revelation? What out the reality of establishing a revelation? Because this is what you have. Let me say this.
Revelation is shit somebody made up in their own mind, and they lie to the public and say it came from somewhere else other than their own imagination.
Let's have a book that has over 36 authors across generations that have the same vision, that have the same perspective, that have the same.
But that didn't happen.
Voice. Yes, it did.
No, it didn't.
Very much so. Very much so. Very much so. You can go back. I'll just go from the first century. I'm just gonna go.
You don't even need different books. The Bible and the Holy Books contradict themselves in the same book.
Go to the first century. Okay?
But can we speak to the brother's assertion? He said God is always changing and evolving. Is that true? Does God change and evolve? And be careful what you say, because you're a believer.
No.
Okay, thank you.
No.
Because God is sacred.
No.
Because God is sacred. You say God doesn't change and evolve. I say that God does change and evolve. The reason I say that God constantly changes and evolves is because God is a figment of the human imagination. And so God changes according to the desires, needs, values, and fears and superstitions of the people.
Exactly.
God is always changing and evolving. God can go from being a loving father to a vengeful spirit in the flip of an eye. God can go from loving the poor to using Kanye West. Remember when Kanye West said, God is using me to show out because he made Kanye a billionaire. So God could say, give all your money away if you want to follow me. Or God could say, I'm going to bless you with all this money. So God is constantly changing because God is more than a figment of the human imagination. Right. God is a victim of human desires, fears, and superstitions. God is pure fiction that we give life to. Man made God. God did not make man.
Interesting. And I'll take the opposite, of course, in rebuting that. What is beyond what we are able to really even experience, because life for many is relative, right? We experience life based on our perception. So perceptions.
What does that have to do with God changing or staying the same?
Because what you're describing is the ideas of man about the creator, about so-called
Where
God.
else do we get God besides man's ideas? What other source of information about God do we have besides man's
experience? Through the
Give me a source that does not reconnect to man's ideas.
If you would allow me to talk, I would. When you have your platform, I'll let you speak. Every time I come up with something, just like we had in our last conversation, you always like to cut me off. Always. Okay.
All right. What? Give me a non-human source of God.
A non-human source of God.
Give me a source of God that did not come from people.
The seasons.
What about the seasons?
The order they follow, the laws that they are governed.
They don't follow salt. They follow the Earth's rotation,
and the Earth law, and that's a law.
The Earth rotates and tilts, and Earth's relationship to the sun is what creates the season.
And that is a law. And that is law.
Not a law. That is a phenomenon.
That is a law.
That is a phenomenon.
Law. It is a phenomenon established
or tilting cage. That is not a law. And who?
And the Earth to be tilted 23 degrees on its axis.
That have to do with evidence of God.
Axis at 1,043 miles per hour.
You're saying God did that?
It demonstrates order, and what order demonstrates,
that God did that.
The Creator establishes oneness. Everything comes back to oneness. So when everything
answer my question,
I'm going to respond to the question that was asked about, does God change or not? That was my initial point. You're taking me off into a tangent. I'm not trying to go on a tangent.
You said God doesn't change, and I agree.
That's the point that I'm making. And that's the point that I'm making. That was what I was attempting to establish principally before.
Do you know that seasons change? Do you know that throughout the Earth's evolution, throughout the Earth's timeline, the Earth has went through ice ages, and the Earth has gone through warming spells. The concentration of carbon in the atmosphere, the concentration of oxygen in the atmosphere is changed. So this is not a law. The Earth's atmosphere right now is being changed through concentration of carbon. So the seasons are not laws. They are not fixed. They are not universal.
They're order.
They are disorderly. Have you seen a tornado? You and I both lived in Kansas City.
But that doesn't mean
tornado is order
because
order
nature responds to disturbances. So when you have two fronts that are coming together, science explains this. When you have a cold and a warm front that conflict,
yes, and that's order.
But they create a disorder. But it is a balancing. It is a balancing of the environment. It establishes order after that, very much so, because it's like the body. It's like our body. If we have a invasive virus, bacteria, or germ,
which is order, it's natural, it's order. Bacteria and viruses are order,
but it's not for life though. Everything is for life. Everything is.
Everything is order. You said the seasons are order. God is order.
See, what you like to do is take words and then twist them and not allow me to get my point out. You're not allowing me to finish the thought. So if I can get my thought out, I could explain it more clear. You're always interrupting and taking me off my tangent. That's a good tactic that you have. It's a great tactic because you're not allowing me to speak clearly. Okay. You want to change the topic to fit your agenda. Allow me to speak clearly and get my thought out as opposed to interrupting my thought. I can't get my thought out because you're interrupting me, and that's very frustrating. I want to have an intelligent conversation with you, but your tactic, you like to say, I like to insult you. I'm insulting you. You don't allow me to get my thought out. You take me off the topic. So the point that I wanted to make about the establishment of law and principle is where you get to see the reality of the creator in nature, in existence. When you start to see the oneness of all things in harmony, that is where you see the light of the creator truly emanating from that particular principle, in the oneness, because this is the hallmark of the creator, is establishing oneness, because everything comes back to that source, and that source is where all life has its purpose, its functionality, its essence is exuded from that particular place. And so when you're dealing with this across cultures and you're dealing with this across generations, you see how the fingerprint of the Most High works throughout people. It comes within and through the people. That is where it is most clearly articulated, because that is the true messenger of the Most High, because all we are vessels. At really, at most, we're vessels that brings a higher consciousness to earth, which is what Homo sapiens were sent to do, to bring order to this kingdom called the human kingdom, so that man can function without these oppressive systems. But what's so crazy about it is that religion and spirituality have been used as very destructive weapons to take man off the point of life, for life. Everything is for the purpose of life. And when these disturbances happen in creation, well, the balance of that is the destructive balance. It brings the balance back into nature. That's how nature works. That's how the creator works. Things have to be brought into order and harmony, sometimes through destruction. And that's how life works, right?
I just have to say, in the statement you just made, you have contradicted yourself within that statement, and you contradicted things you said earlier. But your concept of order, your concept of earlier where you say everything was designed and programmed, and then you talk about order is God is all about oneness and order. And then when there is chaos, the whole purpose of chaos is to bring order. But if you were in a state of order before chaos, why the blood clot would you need chaos to bring order? But let's just, I want to get to people, because people are really responding. You've really lit a fire under people. You've really awakened the spirit. So let's go. If we could answer these in a couple of sentences. Where do you get this knowledge of God or gods? I'm sure that's for you, because I don't have any knowledge of God or gods. Where do you get this knowledge of God or gods? First of all, do you believe in one God or a pantheon, several gods?
One. So this is a cultural consciousness that is ancestrally understood, also in addition to the work that you do to arrive at the revelation of this knowledge. So knowledge is twofold. You have erudition, erudite knowledge, right, which is where we study. And then you have intuitive knowledge, right? And so the intuitive knowledge is what will be informed by the erudition that we undertake to arrive at more intuitive concepts and ideas and even principles. So the knowledge of God comes first from the from I would say the essence of life, and then that is perceived and it has been documented through different cultures, you know, in different wisdom books, and then it is also perceived through the meditative and the prayer, and then the application of the principles in life. Okay,
Joet's asked, God is a verb. Please expound. A couple of sentences so we can get to some more comments.
It's an active principle.
It's not a person.
Principle. It's not a person. No.
Is it a being?
It is consciousness. It is pure, undiluted, undifferentiated, intelligent energy, transcendent consciousness.
Or is it a he?
No.
Are we made in God's image?
In perception and intelligence, yes.
But not physically?
No.
Okay. So God is the blob?
No, the consciousness.
A nebula. Okay. Okay, moving on. You might be, man. You better be. Hey, you close to blaspheming. You're gonna be sitting next to me in hell, looking crazy. You know. And I've been getting ready for hell since I was 14. So I'll be.
I mean, that's you speaking it on yourself, my brother.
Okay. What in the world did I walk in on? Awa, it is a discussion about Black atheism and African spirituality. A Q&A discussion.
Well, let me ask you a question real quick. Give me a society in Africa that is atheistic. What society in Africa has been atheistic?
In
entirety, an entire society. Give me a sociological witness of atheism in Africa.
I don't understand.
Where do you have a civilization or a society of African people collectively that were atheists?
I don't know of one.
There is none.
I don't know of any society anywhere that is wholly atheist in human existence.
So that is a blip. That is a glitch. That's a glitch.
Well, you can definitely say that early humans were atheists. They didn't have any formal religion or that we know of. But
they were more agnostic, I would say. They were more agnostic.
Agnosticism is atheism.
Agnosticism is skepticism. They don't know definitively, but they still question the reality of something that is beyond them.
They have a God that they worshiped. And in fact, the animist primitive religions, the animist religions were atheistic religions. There were atheistic.
They were more polytheistic.
Animist, okay. But
so if you go through the scale of religion,
I don't need ancient people to validate facts. I don't have to say, well,
but when you understand the evolution of consciousness,
these behaviors from human sacrifice to chattel slavery and all that other shit, I don't really give a fuck, because I'm evidence based, and you can't run. That is a logical fallacy. There are several logical fallacies. You say, well, we did it in the past, so that does not validate what we do now. We cannot.
That's not what I'm saying, though.
Well, asking me were there any atheists in the past?
Even presently.
I understand when I'm talking about my beliefs versus what I understand and what's known. I believe that there were brothers and sisters in Egypt. Like, man, ain't no motherfucking Osset. Ain't no goddamn dog head Anubis and all that. I know for a fact.
That was totemic.
Nigerian brothers and sisters that says, yo, Ifa, and oracles and all that shit, that's some bullshit. So I know personally, right now, there are black atheists all over the African continent who are
undeniably. There are individuals like that, but they're not societies, really. You see what I'm saying?
Of course, because irrational people become violent. That's why I'm against fucking religion, because irrational people do irrational shit, and you can't just go and say, that thing you believe is based on nothing.
The nihilists aren't irrational and violent. The nihilists aren't irrational and violent. Nihilists aren't irrational and violent. And nihilists, people who don't believe anything.
Oh, you mean the who?
The nihilist. Nihilist.
Oh, nihilist. Many nihilists were theists and believed in God. Nihilism and theism are not codependent. You could be one or the other or both, or you could be a nihilist Christian. Hell, we just saw Donald Trump is a Bible thumping Christian, and he is a walking embodiment of nihilism. So you can try to put that on atheism, but I'm sorry, it's not going to work.
Yeah, brother.
4411-825 is said excellent discussion. Thank you. Everything is in constant expansion and extraction, evolving and changing through God. Okay, I'm just get free will. Maybe these are just some comments. Correct. I'm not sure who you're saying is correct. Justin asks, how does an atheist explain creation? We explain creation by simply asserting that there's no evidence to support it. And because there is no evidence to support it, we will not accept it. As soon as someone provides any evidence that human beings were the byproduct of a conscious, deliberate creation or creative process, we will be the first to accept it and spread it. But there is absolutely no evidence besides human imagination for human creation, or that there was no creator of the universe, there was no creator of humans, there was no grand creator of all things.
If I may too, real quick, the Bible does not provide a scientific explanation of anything in terms of creation. It is all allegory. In the first couple chapters of Genesis, it is not a literalist. It should not be taken literally. If it is taken literally, it is very
blaspheming. Boy, you're a blasphemer.
It is very naive and elementary for individuals to look at that as a literalist account.
Or look at any component of the Bible as literal or something anybody should pay attention to.
There is some historical.
The whole damn Bible is worthless.
So Taharka was not a Cushite king. There was no king.
Sorry?
There was no king of Cush called Taharka.
I don't know.
There was no king in
Who cares? There was no Empire State Building. Guess what? I could go get a comic book.
If you're saying it's all make believe, but there's historical individuals in there.
I saw a comic book where Superman was fighting Muhammad Ali. Does that mean there's no Superman? Because there's a Muhammad Ali. I saw Spider-Man swinging from the Empire State Building. Does that make Superman real?
Right.
That's weak. What? No, you know, of course. Yeah, people who might write fiction generally use shit that's around them to fill up their fiction, unless they're writing something about something from a foreign planet. So,
not that archaeology is confirming this. Not that archaeology is confirming this now.
Archaeology has blown up the biggest stories in the Bible. Archaeology has disproven Noah's Ark. Archaeology has disproven the Jewish slave bondage in Israel. The crossing and drowning in the Red Sea has been disproven. So the Shroud of Turin and all that bullshit, archaeology.
That's not reality. That was the brother from the
what wasn't reality?
What's his name? The Jesuits. That was Shroud.
Yeah, those religious people are wrong, but you as a religious person, you're on point.
You know.
We all understand the historical function of religion, right?
Religion as a tool is used twofold. One, it's used to pacify people and to keep people subservient to the powers if they keep the people ignorant. When people are kept ignorant and the priesthood is elevated above the people, then you have an imbalance. If the people are informed, however, in any society, because really when you look at the United States is functioning as a religious society, whether people won't recognize it or not. Uncle Sam is who the people worship.
Yeah, Europeans are a very spiritual people.
I wouldn't argue that point.
They're the most spiritual. Yeah, hey, shoot, they didn't fought the most holy wars. They didn't put more work in for their gang than black folks have.
I will say that is true.
Gangs.
The thing is this, though. When religion is used to incapacitate critical thought, then yes, it is a very unjust system. But when spirituality and religion, quote unquote, is used to elevate the thoughts, the words, and the actions of people, then you have a very functioning spiritual system that is causing the people to transcend their animal natures to become more heaven-like, to become more orderly, to be more one with themselves first and foremost, because that's the objective of all spiritual wisdoms is self-mastery. When you really understand what the Messiah principle is, it is about awakening all the principles of consciousness within yourself and becoming one in mind, one in body, and one in spirit. That's what the ultimate objective of all spiritual systems really are, is to gain self-mastery and to exercise yourself in a principle that is bringing oneness to all of creation. That's what the ultimate function of reality of religion really is, and that is a connection between humans and connection between creation and connection with creator. That is what it really means. But when you're dealing with the cynical aspects of man, then it becomes a tool of control, undeniably.
Okay. The historical function of religion has been repression, and it has also been to formalize superstitions and myths. Human beings would use, due to our limited understanding, sometimes in order to absolve anxiety and internal contradictions, when a phenomenon occurs that we can't explain, we will invent an explanation to give us comfort. So if you're laying in bed and you hear a sound, and that sound makes you insecure and fearful, but if you can convince yourself that that sound was an ancestor coming to bless you, then that will help you to alleviate some of that stress. So the original purpose of religion was to explain the unknowable and to absolve and relieve human stress. But when it became institutionalized and created and started to form hierarchies, it became a perfect instrument of oppression and repression. And that is why I think that it is up to I think that human beings should, or especially African and oppressed people, should work to purge religion and spirituality and become rational and evidence-based, because religion so well lends itself to repression and oppression.
I say you fuse them. That's my premise. You fuse them, you bring them together, because man has to aspire to something greater than himself to really bring all that to reality and manifestation. And if we're just, walking about in our own egotistical mindsets, we'll never achieve that. You have to become altruistic. You definitely have to become altruistic. And that is, when you have the principle that you seek to attain, like let's take the Messiah principle. When you understand that you have to become that principle yourself, and you put yourself in the path to encounter that, that is what will lead that all to pass through rational thought, through critical thought, through scientific processes. However, if we're just saying, this is who I am, and you got to accept me as who I am, then we're going to have a bunch of problems. But if everyone has this principle to attain in higher consciousness, then we can become egalitarian, we can become equitable, we can become, truly one in this process. And that's why spirituality is needed, because we need to understand that there are higher principles that we have to attain in order for humanity to truly come together. Because if humanity is going to be divided by ethnicity, by class, by all these different isms, there will be oppression, there will be all these things. But when man enters into the temple right here, in between your temples, where your pineal gland is the holy of holies, then you can start to enter into the realms of consciousness that will allow humanity to transcend.
The pineal gland is not holy. The gland,
the whole body is holy. You're right. The whole body is holy.
The purpose of glands is to produce hormones, and the purpose of the hormones is to regulate bodily functions.
Indeed, and that is what you're getting mastery from.
Adrenal glands, your
nervous system, all these systems are meant for
glands.
Your functionality.
Allow me to try to inject some.
I love it. Let's go there.
Verifiable logic.
Let's go there.
The only purpose of glands is to produce hormones. Hormones are chemicals that regulate bodily functions. They either increase a function or decrease a function. Regulatory. That's it. There's nothing supernatural about it. Fluoride will not calcify your pineal gland. We need to stop that. There is enough scientific nutrition, dietary nutrition. There is enough simple, easy to understand text on human anatomy and human physiology, where we don't have to continue to lie to ourselves.
Do you have chakras? Do you have chakras? Do you have an aura?
No one has chakras.
No one has chakras?
No one has chakras. No.
So when someone walks into a room, you can't see their countenance, or you can't feel their countenance if they're
no. But if someone walks in a room like this versus like this, you can look at him and like, this guy looks like he has a bad attitude. Human beings,
energetically, and that's all
evolution, just like dogs. Finding this also in dogs and other mammal species, that you can tell by facial expressions the disposition, whether someone is in pain. And in fact, now medical science is training medical professionals to read body language and expressions. It is not aura. There are no chakras. It is really interesting. I'm really into like Star Wars lore and 40K lore. The shit is mad interesting, but it's make-believe and it's made up shit. Now,
telekinesis is make-believe. Telepathy is make-believe. Yes. Clairvoyance is make-believe.
Yes.
All that's make-believe.
Until you can give me evidence.
Okay.
God didn't accept homosexuality. According to some doctrine, he does now.
Doctrines is the key word. That's the operative word, doctrines.
Does your God accept homosexuals, or are they committing a sin by simply existing?
Abomination. In the tradition that I'm of, it's an abomination. It's unnatural. It doesn't produce life. As I was saying, life is the outcome of spirituality.
Sex.
And the purpose of
sex.
life.
Come on, let's talk like grown folks.
Sex, yes. It
God
doesn't
wants us to have reproductive sex.
Not produce life.
Homosexuality is wrong because it doesn't.
Allow me to answer the question. Then let me don't lead me on the chase. Let me answer the question.
I'm asking you targeted questions,
but let me answer the question the way I see.
Okay,
fit.
let's go around the globe again.
Ask me a question. Does my God accept homosexuality? No, because it does not produce life. The purpose of existence is to proliferate life. And if things are natural, they come together to produce life. So when you have,
let me ask you, okay, we understand that. I was raised on that, but allow me to ask you now.
Vessels coming together, they do not.
I got some more questions.
Natural, and that
is sex for pleasure acceptable to your God?
In context,
is sex for pleasure acceptable to your God?
In matrimony, yes.
So your God does not have an issue with non-reproductive sex.
In matrimony, yes.
God is against
disorder.
God is against non-marital sex.
What the principle is, let me say this.
I don't care about the principle. I just want to know what I'm doing. I want to know what sins when I go before St. Peter. I want to know how fucked up I am.
To do with that. This is what it comes down to. It comes down to establishing social order. Yes. So then to answer your question, yes, because what
God supports sex for pleasure. But you have to be married, right?
Context, right.
You can have non-reproductive sex. You can have non-reproductive sex as long as you're married. You can have, according to your nebula blob God that doesn't have a form.
This guy is hilarious.
I asked you if he was a man, woman, physical. He was the energy God.
It is energy. Okay,
you're sparky God. Okay, God said, I can have sex for pleasure because I've only had reproductive sex twice in my life. And just let you, I've only had reproductive sex. I have 2 offspring. All my other sex that I've had has been non-reproductive. But God is okay with me doing that because my wife and I are married. Right?
It creates an order, very much so.
My wife and I went to the courthouse and got married, and we did not profess our love before God, and our marriage was presided over by a bureaucrat because she's an agnostic, I'm an atheist, so we didn't get holy matrimony. Does our marriage still count, and is our sex still safe from hellfire?
That's order.
If gay people get married, can they have pleasurable sex without reproducing like heterosexual people do?
It's unnatural.
Okay, it is unnatural. It is unnatural. Is wearing clothing natural?
In some societies.
Is talking in a digital device using a computer, is that natural? Is driving a car natural? Is wearing a beanie on your head natural?
Now you're getting into trivialities. So let's talk about nature in terms of the production of life.
Understanding of what nature is. Now,
exactly.
My wife and I did not get married in holy matrimony, but we are legally married. We have a marriage license and everything. Is our intercourse sanctioned by God?
You're being trivial.
No.
It is very trivial. You're being very trivial.
Not because we're married, but because it's natural. She has a vagina and I have a penis, so God is okay with us.
That's order.
What order is it?
The order of life. The order of life.
But we've only had reproductive sex twice.
But you're still in the order of life because that is a natural connection.
We're never going to have children again. Are we allowed to continue having sex?
Go for broke, bro.
So it's not about children. It's not about children, and it's not about matrimony. So his opposition to homosexuality's got to be something else, because gay people can have sex within holy matrimony now.
I'm gonna tell you this.
And God is okay with sex for pleasure under holy matrimony. So gays got that covered. So God's issue, huh?
Allow me to explain, okay?
Okay.
What you're dealing with is the undoing of order. And this now is opening the door to perversities that will continue to like inflame society in ways that are going to produce more and more abnormal, perverse, and disruptive and destructive.
So when two men have sex, it will lead to other behaviors in society.
Undeniably, it's called attrition. Yes.
Okay. Give me some of the behaviors that are a byproduct of 2 men having sex.
Pedophilia.
There are no heterosexual pedophiles.
There's heterosexual pedophiles too, but
R.
that
Kelly.
opens the door.
Did
It
R.
opens the
Kelly
door
touch
for
any
all of that.
boys?
I don't know if he did or didn't. I don't
So
know.
R. Kelly's pedophilia is a byproduct of gay men sex.
He was probably touched by someone in his family, or
He was touched by someone in his family, and it was an adult woman.
Okay.
It was an adult woman, the natural order of things. So yes, he was preyed upon by a female pedophile in a heterosexual matter. And then he went on to prey on other females in a heterosexual matter. But you argue that is a byproduct of gay men having sex in a gay matter.
So what the thing is
that a yes or a no? Is gay sex a byproduct? Is pedophilia a byproduct of gay sex?
No.
Okay, then give me a behavior that is a byproduct. Give me a society dooming behavior. Because I used to believe this too. And when I asked these questions, I didn't get satisfactory answers. So I loved being a homophobe. I loved it. I was so cool.
I'm not a
I
homophobe.
really like being anti-gay. It was just, yeah, it's just, that was just part of, gay jokes are like the funniest freaking jokes. But I can't make them anymore. I can't laugh at them. So I used to be a super homophobe. Because I was raised to believe that it was an abomination. And I was raised to believe by Covenant Memorial Baptist Church that the more gays are in society, the closer we come to societal collapse and the return of Jesus Christ. So please explain to me. You said it's not pedophilia. You said it was, but now you say it isn't. What greater societal turmoil or disorder that will come as a direct byproduct of man laying with man? And if you give me a good answer, then I'm going to get right back in the homophobia box with you. So let's go.
You're just dealing with the undoing of morality, brother.
Can you answer me? Can heterosexual be heterosexual sexuality
out of order
is immoral unless it meets certain requirements like matrimony, right?
So here's the thing, right?
Homosexual sex is bad no matter what because it's out of order and it brings disruption, but you cannot tell me the disruption that it brings. What's going to happen? Let's say my neighbors are over there being gay together or lesbian together. What disruption is going to plague my community as a byproduct of them laying together?
What you're dealing with, Diallo, is broken hearts. You're dealing with broken lives. You're dealing with like a nature that is
that comes in gay and straight relationships. I want to know gay specific stuff. Right? I want to know lesbian specific stuff. I don't want to know things that apply to all interactions, all emotional interactions and intimate interactions have the potential for heartbreak.
Of nature. You're dealing with like things that are not intended to be fused. You're dealing with like a lack of purpose. You're dealing with things that are now like distorted.
If a man and a man were not meant to be together for sex, why do they experience pleasure? If a woman and a woman was not, why is a woman able to? Because if it was unnatural,
burning their lust for that. That's called a lustful desire.
But heterosexuals have lustful desires as well.
Undeniable, but it is not in order. What I'm saying is,
but everything you're saying is universal. Give me some gay specific stuff. I need some gay specific ammo. I need some gay stuff, gay specific. Every time you mention something about the risk of sexual or emotional entanglements, it could apply to gays, lesbians, straight, bisexual. Give me some gay specific things. You said that gay men coming together, being gay, greater corruption in the society. Where is the gay?
What it will create is extinction. It will create extinction of the human race. If everybody is to become homosexual, because there's no reproduction now. If you're dealing with straight homosexual societies, that society will become extinct. Because
name a society like you did me with atheism. Name a society or population or group that became extinct or even had significant population reduction as a byproduct of homosexuality.
There was no Lesbos, the island of Lesbos.
Did the Greek people become extinct? We know about the Greeks and their gayness,
but that particular society did. But
no, Lesbos was an island. They were not a nation.
That's what I'm saying. That island went extinct.
There's people on Lesbos right now. I can do
because
Google.
they
You want to look? You want to take a look at Lesbos right now? There's people on that island.
I don't deny that, but what I'm saying is that society that once inhabited that island,
because you think
that island.
7 billion of us have the. Now there's 7 billion. Do you know what? You think that a few gay people can turn us all gay, and then we won't have no more babies.
That's not what I'm saying. You said, what is an outcome that can take place? I said,
but that outcome has never taken place, and there's no chance of it taking place because human population is literally growing exponentially. Even though gays are taking over the world, right? They're getting married, they're in movies, they're right. The gay agenda is everywhere, right? Men, heterosexual men wearing the gay agenda is at full force, right? Undeniably. Society is so gay now, right?
Undeniably.
Has there been a reduction in human population now that the gays have gotten so much freedom and power? They can join the military. There's a first transgender woman ever in the highest public office on the presidential cabinet now. This is so hella gay. We had a gay presidential candidate. I'm living in the city with a gay mayor. So say an extra prayer for me. Where is the societal or population collapse? Tell me where.
Just look around. Just look around.
Is population increasing or decreasing right now?
Amongst some
demographics,
it's decreasing. Yes. If you look at
as a result of homosexuality,
European,
as a result of homosexuality,
they have no population increase.
Now, in Europe, yes, Europe is experiencing severe population decline. Is it due to homosexuality?
I would say it's probably a factor.
It's
a factor. I don't know what the percentage of the factor is, but it's a factor.
Do you realize that all of the demographers that research and study the decline of populations, because another place that has a severe decline in human population, Japan.
United States.
United States population is increasing
amongst Caucasians.
Well, amongst Caucasians, it's holding steady, and it's a slight increase. Other populations are increasing more rapidly, but none of the population declines, not one population decline anywhere in the world, has been attributed to everybody turning gay on each other. Nobody attributes it to that. I can give you a list of factors.
You asked the question:
population decline or population.
What would be an outcome if this was to be more rampant? Right. So
homosexuality was to be more rampant. What would be the outcome?
You asked me what does this lead to? What does it lead to? If this behavior leads to something, what does it lead to? So my response was everything was to go that way.
I will tell you according to what the gays have told me, because I'm a victim of the gay agenda. What this leads to is more people engaged in intimate relationships, more people finding pleasure in different ways, and more people interacting and fewer people deceiving themselves, like Jay-Z's mother, a lesbian woman who has several marriages and several lesbian kids. I think opening up for gays is good for us heterosexual. You have offspring, I have offspring. Now, would you want a repressive society that tells some young lesbian girl she has to be a lady and be with a woman, be with a man, or God will punish her? She's unnatural, and then your son brings her home, and then and then you got a closeted lesbian granddaughter that don't like your son, don't want to be with him, and all that. So I think it's better if people are allowed to express themselves freely and be open about what they are and what gets them off. And I think people should be allowed to consensually get off with other people. In a way that allows them not to have to deceive others or deceive themselves. I don't see the negative outcome. But if you could demonstrate it to me, like I said, I was really good at homophobia. I was really good at it. I got some really good gay jokes in the tank that I'm ready to spit out.
That's not what it's about, though. You have to understand. This is what it is, right?
Give me a rational.
My perspective is this. This is where I come from. This is where I come from. I'm about to, right?
All right.
What that does is it allows you to experience more of your animal side, right? It's just a release into raw passion that has really it's just an emotional response to the pursuit of pleasure. If you are a hedonist, then you go about doing things of that nature.
Yes, Thank you for that honesty. Because what you just said is you don't like gays because you thinking they having better sex than you are.
Oh, by no means.
You think the world's just animal. You think, I'm a man. I gotta lay up with this
woman. How you take my words and form them into your
man and a man, that man strength and that man lust on top of more man lust. So you're mad because you think they're having better, more intense sex than you are?
Undeniably not. I know what my sex life is like. So anyway, as I was saying,
your sex life is animalistic as well. Is your sex life animalistic?
I'm not getting into my personal business. So
okay,
anyway,
is heterosex
this is the thing.
Animalistic? Is heterosex
it can be very passionate. It can be very pleasurable and passionate. Yes.
Have you been to the shady lady?
Right. So
have you been to the shady lady?
When we create societal order, right? This is the purpose of this. When we create societal order,
non-answer as a yes, you have been to the shady lady.
I've been to a lot of strip clubs in my younger years.
I didn't ask about a lot of strip clubs. I asked about one strip club in particular.
Prospect. Yeah, I've been to
the shady lady. Miss Mo to the camera.
I haven't always been the most.
Now, is that not hedonistic? An animal?
I was a
it's hella heterosexual. Now, if a dude got up on the stage at the shady lady and started shaking it, they run him out of there. So everything you just said about the hedonistic lust, I've seen it with us.
I've been there. I've been in
it. With us cisgender, heterosexual, gender conforming dudes.
I've been a heterosexual hedonist, undeniably.
So that's again, everything I'm saying is to condemn homosexuality.
Nature in us that we have to tap into that will allow things to become more pure in society. And what we need in society is more purity. We need more innocence in society. We don't need this perversion that we're dealing with. We're dealing with perversions.
Let me tell you my problem. Because when you talk about gays leading to pedophilia, no. What leads to pedophilia is religious concepts of sex. There's not this shit about purity and innocence and sex is what leads every single established religious order, Jewish, Christian, Hindu, Buddhist, Islamic, Christian, every single one of them has explosion. Mormons, every single one of them have a plague, an epidemic
of misunderstanding
and pedophilia because of the warped notion that human sex, to be godly in your sex, you need purity, you need innocence. And what is the epitome of purity, of cleanness, of innocence, but children? So every single place you find it.
Misunderstanding.
It's ironic as fuck to me, as you say, homosexuality is an abomination that leads to pedophilia, when every single religious body, including the Orthodox Jewish community,
the religious community, undeniably.
I was in Crown Heights.
Oh, you got rabbis with herpes because they suck the penis of the children they circumcised.
It's really ironic to me now.
Where you gotta understand, Diallo, it's not monolithic. It is not a monolithic reality.
Where you talk about
you make religion spirituality monolithic. It is not monolithic. You see, you want to lump everybody into this one particular.
You make it up and you don't have to validate or substantiate it. So it's whatever you say it is.
No, it's not. There is a standard that is beyond what anyone says.
We could literally, if we were both spiritualists, we could literally say, I'm trying to say shit that can be validated and supported, that is based in evidence. You're allowed to say almost anything because when you just validate your claims by more invalid claims, which is a really wonderful place to be.
The purpose of science is to arrive at truth. If you really want to get to the bottom of science, it is to arrive at a truth, right? You want to have some conclusion that you can say this is formulaic, that is going to always yield this outcome time in, time out. That's one of the main purposes of science, to get knowledge. The root word of science is sier, to know. I want to know what the truth is. So when you're dealing with truth, you're arriving at the knowledge. When you're dealing with science, you're dealing with the knowledge of the truth. Okay, that's what the root of science is about. When you get to the etymology, allow me to finish. I listened to you on your little box. Allow me to finish my point, right? And so when you're dealing with truth, when you're dealing with what we were born for. We were born to produce life. We were born to produce harmony. We were born to produce peace. We were born to produce all these things on earth, so we will live as one. We will live as one, okay? But if you're going to bring all these perversions, inversions, diversions, and conversions away from the reality of what life is about, the production of life, then yes, you're going to get into a world where people are going to use religion in a way that is going to be unsubstantiated and unethical and demonic. You're going to deal with that because people are twisted. The heart is deceptively wicked, okay? And when I say heart, I don't just mean the physical organ of the heart. This is the center of the being, the way a person thinks in their emotional stability or instability. We're dealing now with metaphors. And so when you're dealing with consciousness, and the purpose of consciousness is to elevate your being, to not function from your middle part down, but to function from your middle part up, and to have all the, what do you call it? The biological essences of our body, the pineal gland, the pituitary, which produces the electromagnetic essences of the secretions that are in our body, the milk and honey, if you will, of the Bible that it talks about. And you bring these secretions down and you cause them to crystallize and form, and then you bring them back up through transcendental meditation, and you bring this anointing forth. You see what I'm saying? This is where it gets into a sacred science, because the science it's really talking about is you, your body. The biology of the study of life is really the study of you, to understand that you were born to be the Most High. You were born to be
biology is. You won't find one biology textbooks or one legitimate.
Because it's secular. Because what the Romans and the Greeks done have removed the spirit of it, just like allopathic medicine. They took the spiritual aspects out of it and made religion, medicine, a business.
Thank you.
They made it a business. They don't understand the spirit of medicine. They don't understand the spirit of healing. They don't understand the spirit of life even. And so when you're dealing with just life at a secular basic level, you're not going to really get into the essence of it.
You're not going to make shit up and pretend like it's
real. Making shit up, and the ancestors
literally making things up. You're mixing contradictory concepts. Ideas. You're
real healers.
Very real healers. From
very real healers.
To chakra.
I'm not talking about Benny Hinn type of healers either. I'm talking about real healers.
You go to science fiction telekinesis. You going from X-Men telekinesis to Hinduism and Hindu mysticism. And you bringing up rabbis and yogis.
Call it what you want, Diallo.
I call it
what you want, because that's your perspective, and you have the right to have your perspective. It's not absolute. Your perspective is not absolute with all the evidence that you claim that you have. It's not absolute. It's not. People's experiences are their experiences.
Okay.
And so you don't have a quarter on any market that you can say that you have the absolute response to. No, you have your perspective, and I respect that. And that's why I tell you to stay in your lane. You need to stay on the political lane. You can't deal with the spiritual.
I have to do what I can as a moral and responsible human being. I have to do all that I can to demystify, and I really want to purge religion and religious delusions from my community and from my race.
That gets you. I get you.
They say you need to define God. If it was me, I would say you've defined God several times. But can you give another, a more simplified definition of God?
Undiluted, undifferentiated, pure, supreme, intelligent energy. Oneness is one. It's the oneness of all existence, everything in harmony with itself, and that it is the emanation of life, the ultimate emanation of life, and the source of all being.
Can you put that in one sentence? Let's pretend like Webster. What if you wrote the definition of God for Webster? What would it say?
It would say the self-existing, supreme intelligence and source of all life.
Let's go to the bottom. Someone asked me, I've been in yoga, yoga therapy, the New Agers don't know what they're talking about. He said New Agers don't know. She says New Agers don't know what they're talking about. Diallo, do you believe in race? I don't believe in race. I accept what the definition of race. Race is basically the how we define various phenotypes of human beings. So yes, race is real. I don't believe that in the race is just a construct. Yes, race is a construct, but that doesn't mean you can dismiss it because it's a construct. I do accept that there are various races of men, which is men who have and women who have varying and distinguishable phenotypic expression. That's what I define as race. But I don't put values on race, thinking that one race is superior to another and all of that. So I'm not a racist, but I do accept that there are racial distinctions or racial identifiers amongst human beings.
Ethnic more so. I would say there's only one race. That's the human race.
That's corny.
It is what it is. Homo sapiens is the race.
Except for the gays. They're not human.
They're human. They're just perverts.
Abominable humans. They're abominations. So they're divergent. If you're an abomination,
their practices.
Like you got the Incredible Hulk, who's all smooth and muscular, and then you have the Abomination, who's got all these bumps. So the Abomination is not the Hulk, and the Hulk is not the Abomination. So we're like Hulks, and the gay dudes are like abominations, like you said, right?
Their practices.
Their behavior. Love the man and not the sin. Right? Okay, I manifest the essence of the ancestors' consciousness is going to slap Diallo in the back of the pineal chakra. Bring it. I would love that. I would love, I would love validation that our ancestors somehow interact with us, that there is some supernatural force, even if it comes in the form of a punishment. I would love validation, and I will accept it. And I'll tell the world, go and tell the world that, hey, this stuff is real. All that stuff I've been saying, that this stuff is make-believe and there's no evidence and no one can demonstrate it, I was wrong, because I've seen evidence of the spirit, the consciousness, the light, all that nonsense. But it's not real. It's literally people making it up from their organic biological brains. Their God will have to beg me for my forgiveness.
Pride and arrogance are very powerful drugs themselves. You know, that's what has the world so divided. You know, is people's pride and their egos, their arrogance, their haughtiness, their swag, if you will. You know, that's what has the world so imbalanced right now, because everybody wants to be bigger than the next person, or better than the next person, or harder than the next person. Beg me for my forgiveness. It's just like, this is what makes the world so imbalanced, right? Because the ego wants to be in control. The ego wants to say nothing is deeper or better than myself, right? And this is what has caused the world to get so shallow. This is why we have so much violence, so much oppression, so much chaos in the world, is because ego is filled in man, and man is filled with ego, right? And this is where we've completely gone astray.
Why did God give us an ego?
To have a sense of identity.
That's all.
Sense of identity. Know that you are an individual, but in your individuality,
why you gonna make something that gets so
shut up? I will speak, Diallo. You asked me a question. I'm answering the question.
Okay.
You always overrule when you're trying to.
If I bought an iPhone and the iPhone fucked my ear up, then I blame Steve Jobs. If I got an ego that I didn't ask for, you give me this goddamn ego and it causes the world to go astray. Isn't it the maker of the ego?
No, it's called full of self. The ego is meant to identify. You are an individual. Your ego is who you are as an individual.
Who did that?
The creator.
He made the goddamn ego and it's fucked up. You just said the ego got the whole world fucked up.
I said the goal of spirituality is self.
Why did God make a defective ego in man?
Listen to me. No, man did that to himself.
We got more power than God. We have the ability to undo that which God has done.
So this is what
we have the ability to undo and go against God's will. Can I go against God's will? Yes or no?
Clearly, yes.
Yeah.
Clearly, yes. Clearly, yes.
We God. Find a better God to worship, man. Come on.
If
I was the God.
Reality of spirituality is to fuse your free will with omniscience. This is where you get to the all-knowing, okay? The mind, when it is unlocked, when it is truly unlocked and revealed, combined with the free will, creates the image and likeness of Elohim on earth, okay?
No, not okay.
Why do black people hate black people, Oba? That's the question. It's not about the creator. It's why do black people hate black people? That's
God first black people to go into slavery. Here we go again. Was black enslavement part of God's punishment?
It was a choice. Did
black people violate God's law? And as a result of violating God's law, God allowed us to go into slavery.
Yes.
So when the Europeans and the Arabs came into Africa to enslave us and rape us and take our land, it was according to...
They are a God-forsaken people in this area here, known as the slave coast, that you can abduct. Yes, and this is what Dum Diversas by Pope, who was that Alexander VI signed. Yes, they knew that providence had been changed. They understood that.
God does hate black people.
No, he doesn't hate black people. He hates Esau.
He saved us because he loved us. He allowed us to be,
He chastised us. But
our enslavement was God's will. Yes. Right?
No, that's not his will.
It was God's judgment.
Yes.
God wanted us to go and become slaves.
That's his will. No, that's his will. No, he did not desire that. That was not the Most High.
God set up enslavement as punishments for our violation of his will or his laws.
Anybody that breaks a law has a consequence to face.
And our consequence for breaking God's law was slavery.
On that context, yes. In that context, because we were going to learn to serve the Most High one way, shape, or form.
Enslavement was divine punishment from God. Yes? That's what you believe. Black enslavement was divine punishment from God. Say the word.
Yes, I'll say the word. Yes, I don't shy from that.
Yeah, you know that sounds crazy as fuck. You don't want to say it, but hey, you got to claim it.
It doesn't. No, it doesn't sound crazy.
That, homie.
It's called consequences, brother.
Yes, that was God's consequence.
If you don't fulfill your purpose in life, if you don't
be enslaved. Now listen to me. Now listen to me.
Yes, to someone else's purpose.
Now listen to me.
Very much
son, who I created through natural, pure matrimonial sex with my wife, right? He leaves his room a goddamn mess. I'm kind of a neat freak. I like things to be in their proper place, like God. I like things to be orderly, and he leaves them a fucking mess. If I went into it, just thinking about his room angers me. It enrages me. Can I bind him and tie him up?
You can punish him.
Can I turn him over to some white folks and allow white folks to have their way with him? And not only that, when my son has children who have done nothing wrong, did not commit the sin, before they even have a chance to figure out that sin exists, they're born into slavery for generations, right? Again, would I be wrong for that?
Patterns.
Would I be wrong for that?
Patterns.
Yeah.
No, you wouldn't.
I'm glad you admit that because...
well, I would say in the context of what you're saying, yes, because that's very extreme, right? But when you have an understanding that these people are ancestors who were to shape this earth in a way that was going to allow humanity to reach its full potential.
Why did we go against what God told us? Did we know we would end up in slavery?
No, because we wanted to follow other...
Because of the ego he gave us. God was like, I'm going to make this man, boop, 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 and then I'm going to put an ego in there. And I know because I'm omnipresent, I'm omnibenevolent, I'm omnipotent. I know he's going to fuck up. And when he fucks up, I'm going to send these Arabs and these Europeans to rape, mutilate, enslave him for generations. Murder him.
Yep.
I'm going to sin because they didn't do what I told them to do.
What are we doing,
even though their violation of their law, because us violating the law didn't hurt God one iota.
We were oppressing ourselves. We were murdering ourselves. We were raping ourselves. We were doing all kinds of things.
We were as bad as the white man. Africa was as bad as what Europeans did to us.
In ways.
So it wasn't really different. So how are you punishing us?
In areas.
How are you punishing us by putting us in a condition that we were already in? Now you're saying it's punishment for rape. God didn't want us murdering. God didn't want us raping. God didn't want us enslaving. So in punishment for murder, rape, and enslavement, he's going to have us murder, raped, and enslaved. God is a fucking idiot. I mean, the way you describe God, he's a fucking sadistic idiot.
Here's the thing, right, Diallo? You have a people who have been selected.
Hey, don't fucking select us.
Listen, dude. I listen to you when you talk. I'm talking. Shut up and listen. Shut up and listen.
I just selected you to follow my motherfucking arbitrary rules. Aren't you lucky? And if you don't do it, I'm gonna fuck your shit up. Why the fuck can you select us?
You want to be a comedian right now. You don't want to listen. You want to be a comedian.
Jews said that they're the selected ones. So let them come over here and do oppression and give us.
I tell you what, we can end this conversation because it's not a conversation anymore. It's really not.
My wife just called
me, bro. It's not. I'm trying to explain something to you, and you just jumping everywhere. I'm trying to explain to you something. You want to, like I said, holler and shout over me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, you're talking slavery as a person,
right? But allow me to explain.
My grandmother is 90 years old, and she came up in Jim Crow, Missouri. And the thing she went through,
you're not the only one with
that was God's punishment for something that happened.
We still slaves, bro. We still slaves. We still got people.
And we will be free once we start to obey God's arbitrary, stupid laws that really don't benefit us and do shit for us.
Do not murder. That's stupid. Don't murder. That's stupid.
You don't need God for murder. Before God put it in his commandments, humans knew that murder was wrong. And who are the top murderers? Who are the top fucking murderers? And if God punished murderers, who would be the most?
That's stupid.
So don't steal. Just black people can't murder.
Don't bear false witness.
People can't murder. Europeans murder. Europeans created the biggest, best murder machines in the world.
Let's do this. Right? If you are called and sworn in to an office to fulfill a duty, and you're derelict on your duties, do you have a higher punishment?
Don't rape me, don't mutilate and brand me, don't take me from my fucking home, don't do that to my children, my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren, my great-grandchildren. If you do that shit to me because I didn't follow your arbitrary law, you are a fucking monster.
You're not listening, dude.
So no, there's nothing you can say.
You're not listening.
I would not do that to a rapist. I would not torture, mutilate, brand a rapist or a murderer, and then wait for their offspring to be born and do the same to their offspring, and then wait for the offspring of their offspring. The fact that you can, in any way in your mind,
that's the choice of the oppressor, brother. That's not the Most High's choice. That's the choice of the oppressor.
That's the choice you made. That's what every fucking abuser says. Every fucking rapist. Oh, if she wasn't walking down the street like that. Every fucking pedophile. Oh, the child is so pure. Every fucking abuser and predator says it's your fault. What I did to you is your fault, even though I could have just not fucking done it.
If I said it was
no, I'm not going to do it.
Of the oppressor to continually enslave us into this, to dehumanize us, that's the oppressor's choice. I didn't say anything.
Yes, because he knew it was going to fucking happen. Is God omnipotent?
Bro,
is God omnipotent?
You're bouncing everywhere right now. I'm trying to go at
the response. Is God omnipotent? Yes or no?
Yes.
Since God is omnipotent, he knew. He knows how many hairs are on my head, right?
That's omniscient. That's omniscient.
Okay, is God omniscient?
Yes.
Is God omnipresent?
Undeniably.
Is he omnibenevolent?
No.
Oh, good. Oh, well.
There is wrath. There is wrath.
Did God not know we would be here before we got here?
Very much so.
So how the fuck would God be like, yo, do this or you'll be punished, knowing that we wouldn't do it and that he would punish us? What's this game about?
It's called choice, brother. That's the most powerful choice you have.
Can I violate God's will?
Let me ask you this: are you faithful to your wife? Are you faithful to your wife? Are you faithful to your wife? Are you faithful to your wife?
I don't. Yeah, for the most part. You know, I'm a godless heathen man. Don't ask me questions.
Are you faithful to your wife, though? Yes or no? Yes. So why? Why are you faithful to your wife?
Because she's nosy as hell. Looking at my phone, she follow me everywhere.
That's not your choice, though. That's not your choice.
I'm just not your
choice. That's not your choice. It's not your choice to be faithful to your wife. You don't choose to do that.
Yes, I do.
Okay, so that's the point. You have a choice to make, Diallo. You can as well fuck up and do what you want to do at the same time.
Yes,
right? Your choice is to remain faithful. Okay. So
yeah, but I do a lot of other shit she doesn't want me to do.
Okay,
She doesn't like me eating fucking. I bought a package of chocolate.
And you're going on a tangent.
Okay.
You're going on a tangent. The point of the matter I'm making is when you have a choice to make, right, between two different poles, it is your choice that determines the outcome. Okay.
Oh, fucking shit.
The outcome.
Bullshit.
It doesn't.
Let's say that's bullshit.
Okay.
That's bullshit. And for you to put that on there because you keep fucking leaving out the murder, the mutilation, and the multi-generational fucking horrors. Who the fuck does that? That's fucking crazy, dude. And there's no way to justify it. And talking about me and my wife, talking about we had a choice. Nobody, even with the Derek Chauvin trial. With the Derek Chauvin trial, right? Let's say he was found guilty.
When is Yahweh coming to punish? It's already happening, man. It's already happening.
Let's say with the Derek Chauvin trial, right? Do you think that Derek Chauvin should have his genitals mutilated? That he should be branded on his skin? Do you think that's appropriate punishment because he made the choice to kill that brother?
I think he should have his life taken, honestly.
You think, you support capital punishment? Should his life be taken in a horrendous
malicious murder like he was? Okay. Yes.
You take his life. What about his children? What should we do to them?
His children are fine.
What about his wife who wasn't even fucking there?
If she is not hate-filled and she is not going and carrying out similar acts, they're fine.
But so every single African that went into slavery was a criminal murder rapist? Where they're innocent Africans.
They were dealing with criminals, murderers, and rapists, though. You're dealing with the whole society that was criminal, rapists, and murderers.
So shouldn't
that's what you're dealing with.
So if you live in a society that's criminal, murderers, and rapists, and even if you don't do it, you should get the punishment, right? So we should lock up Chauvin's wife, right? And his children and his grandchildren, right? Do you believe that?
Yeah.
No, because you are more moral than the God you worship. You know it ain't true. And you ain't got to look back like you're searching out. Well, that don't make sense. Human laws make more sense.
Civilizations are very choice based, and their natures become a part of their culture. So the culture of the West, particularly during the 15th century forward, but we can go to the Arabs as well from the 7th century, from about the 7th century forward, and dealing with the Arab conquest and the European conquest of Africa. You're dealing with very barbaric people. They were barbaric, but they were also the ones.
That doesn't matter.
Let me finish.
That doesn't justify anything your God does.
The damn thing. I'm explaining to you what took place. These people who came into power. You're dealing with these caliphates and you're dealing with these kingdoms who came into power.
To do with your God.
Listen, shut up and listen. These kingdoms come into power and eventually become the world power, and then they exploit a people who have been power, and then their natures took over the
blood clot that got to do with your God.
Because those people who came into power were given the authority to go about conquering the
by
people.
Who? Given the authority by who?
By the Creator, by the Most High.
By your God. So your God is to blame for all this shit.
By the King of Kings. No. We are. Because if we were the ones who were ruling in righteousness, like we were supposed to be ruling in righteousness, none of this would be taking place.
But he knew we wouldn't. But I mean, this is a circular argument because your God doesn't exist, and it's just a way to
you.
No, God doesn't exist for you either. And everything that you say that it's supernatural.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right, Diallo. You're absolutely right.
Or about life.
You sound stupid. You sound stupid, right? You sound stupid saying that.
Well,
absolutely.
There is no evidence. You can't demonstrate the existence of your God.
In my life every day. I bear witness to it every day. If you want to see the Most High, look in my life. If you want to see the Most High, look in the life of those who follow the Most High. That's what
look in the life of those who follow Most High. Nothing but people living like everyone else, except they have a delusion that other people don't have.
Okay.
Your life is not much different than mine, except you exist within a delusion and you give meaning and weight and relevance to things that are not real. That's the only difference between me and you. Other than that, you consume,
and you deny the reality of which you exist.
You function,
and you deny the reality of which you
just like me, except you try to give a higher level supernatural
secular humanist.
I don't have a need for that illusion.
So stay in your lane. You're an atheist.
I'm not just an atheist. I'm an anti-theist. And in fact, conversation with you talking about purity and sex, you're talking about
you have a brilliant mind. You have a brilliant mind.
I would say my atheism.
I would say this about you. You have a brilliant mind. You are a very logical and tactical, yet hyper emotional individual. Hyper emotional, right?
God made me that way. Take it up with God.
This is where you have to control yourself. This is where you have to control yourself so you can become even more sharp. Because again, like I said, the outcome of spirituality is self-mastery. And the more hyper emotional you sound, okay, it isn't, because Diallo said it isn't. But the more
I said because there's no evidence to support spirituality. There's no evidence of spirits. There's no evidence that the rituals and baseless beliefs of spirituality have any impact beyond self-delusion.
I'm giving you 2 hours of time that is really.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm in trouble already because my wife said it. But I do appreciate these talks.
I do appreciate you as well, man, for what you do contribute. What you contribute, but what you take away, bro, you really don't know what you talk about. You just talk about evidence. If it's not evidence-based, then it's not real.
Yes.
I respect it for you. I respect it.
Yes.
I respect your perspective in that, but that's just, again, your perspective.
Other than that, you are engaged in literal make-believe. Okay. You're engaged in make-believe.
Okay. You're right.
It is self-delusion and make-believe. There are no super magical
it's not magic at all. It's not. It's formulaic.
Your penile gland does nothing but emit hormones to do biological regulation. There is no supernatural function or impact of the penile gland. You are evolved.
You can
figure it. Created by a supernatural force.
You can emit light.
Decompose.
You have biophotons.
None of those things.
Countenance. You have aura. You have chakras. You have energy. Your body is all energy. Your body is all vibratory energy. That's all your body is. It's vibratory.
Okay.
Energy.
No, my body is not. My body is liquid.
You studied martial arts. You studied martial arts, right? You studied martial arts, right?
Yeah.
What's chi? What's chi?
It is the fiction that your body has meridians, and through your meridians, energy flows through them.
Wow, it's fiction.
It is the energetic force in your body. It is mythological.
It's mythological.
Yes.
Interesting. Okay, I appreciate that.
I've seen X-rays. I've seen MRIs. I've seen dissected human bodies. I have not seen any meridians, and I have not
because it's energy. You don't see energy. Do you see
can see energy.
Do you see oxygen? Do you see oxygen?
You cannot see oxygen, but you can demonstrate oxygen. All I have to do is light a match, and that demonstrates oxygen. How do you demonstrate God?
In your life. By living.
How do you demonstrate God? Because I am godless, but I live my life. How do you demonstrate? What is your evidence for God? Say, I have no evidence. I just believe. Be honest. I have no evidence for God. I believe these things. This is evidence. I'm not against belief. I have beliefs. And when I'm speaking about beliefs, I articulate it as a belief. Do you have evidence of God? Can you demonstrate God?
In my life, very much so.
What is the evidence that you have for God?
That is the order that is established.
What order are you speaking of?
Righteousness, truth, justice, love.
Those are terms.
Those are principles.
What are the material, physical orders that you are speaking about?
Love.
How you line up your socks in a sock drawer? What order are you speaking of?
Yeah, how I treat my brothers and sisters.
That is because of God.
It is inspired by that. Yes.
It is inspired by God, but that is not evidence of God. That's only evidence of your emotional state and your beliefs. That is not evidence of God.
Bro, the evidence is my life. The fact that I'm here. The fact that
you are here.
The sperm cell
from you. You are a byproduct of sexual intercourse and cells
and impregnated the ovum. And followed a code and divided it and gave it to
biology. You are not describing God.
From liquid to solid, right?
Go through the same process.
From liquid to solid, to have this intelligence, to have this this head of a sperm cell become my brain, and the spine be the
that
tail.
is not
And for that to become
Lord have his mercy.
the life,
listen, the sperm cell, the head of the sperm does not become your physical head, homie.
Wow.
And the tail of the sperm does not become your spine or your central nervous system. That does not happen. Please don't believe that, and please don't tell that to other people. That is not how it works.
Very much so.
That is not how it works. That is not
first
how
shall be last, and what is last shall be first. That is the order of life, brother.
The sperm head of the sperm cell has chromosomes. It has some chromosomes, and it has some enzymes to help break down the outer shell of the ovum. It is not a head. It does not contain a brain. The tail is also full of enzymes that allow for motility of the sperm cell. We have the information. We have the facts for these things. We don't have to behave as ignorant people. When we know these things, we don't have to make up shit about the sperm cell. The true evolution of the sperm cell is wonderful. We don't have to make up shit about it.
The reality of the matter is, again, the code that is engrafted in that particular cell that becomes this complex organism from a simple single cell organism.
That's evolution, homie. You just described evolution.
And that is where creation
is not a miracle.
It's a process that we very clear miracle, bro. If you don't see that as a miracle, I don't know what to tell you.
Electron microscope that can show a cell division.
That is magnificent.
That happens without wonderful input.
That is marvelous. That is literally unbelievable at times. It is a miracle how life is formed.
You believe that there's a supernatural force that created and controls everything, but you think it's a miracle, a sperm cell fertilizing an egg?
That is very incredible.
Okay.
Very much. It's magnificent.
Do you have any contact information if people want to continue to learn or engage with you?
bmichaellong@protonmail.com is my email. You can hit me up there. You can go to my website, my blog. It's Shifting, no vowels, Shifting Paradigms, SHFTNGPRDGMZ.wordpress.com. I have a podcast that I do every first and third Monday of the month, from 6 to 7 p.m. Central Time on KUAW Knowledge, Understanding, and Wisdom Radio. Facebook, B Michael Long. Instagram, I Be Michael. Hit me up there. That's where I can be found.
All right, and I appreciate you taking the time and giving us another glimpse into the religious and spiritual insights that you have and share. I really do appreciate it. Even though I don't agree with it, I do appreciate your
vice versa. Very much so.
To come into a hostile environment and still be open to share. And have a good evening. And next time I'm in KC, I'll give you a shout. Next time you're in Chicago, we'll go to the museum of.
I'll be there this weekend, as a matter of fact. But we got some business to take care of. Yeah, it's more business in it though, so I gotta just get in and get out. So
the next time you're here, you got some times. We'll go to the museum of shrine. I'll go with you to whatever shrine or temple you want to go to. If you agree to go with me to the Museum of Science and Industry,
I love that. No doubt. Right.
It's a date, but not a gay date because that's an abomination.
You a freak, dude. I'm a holler.
Right, no, I'm pure. I'm married, and all my sex is God ordained. When God's peeking through my keyhole with his freaky self, he's seeing godly sex.
That's a beautiful thing.
All right, bro. You have a good night.
Man. Peace.
All right. All right. That was B. Michael Long. Spirituality, y'all. Y'all got a good dose. So if he converted you, congratulations. Congratulations. Anyway, so again, BroDiallo Show. Like, share, subscribe, support. Woo, woo, woo. We'll be back. We won't be here next. Well, I don't know if I'll be here next Wednesday. I got some traveling to do. But if I'm back in Chicago in time, I definitely will do it. All right. Peace, y'all.